Would you like a laptop that is an absolute powerhouse out of the box? And how about that laptop be super easy to upgrade by yourself without requiring any specialized tools or equipment, and all you have to pay for is the additional components which you can source from anywhere? And how about that laptop be built to pass military standards? And also, how about that laptop costing less than $1,000? Well, I have a secret to share with you, and that is professional workbooks like this. So this is not a consumer laptop. It's what IT departments buy and hand out to employees in businesses. It's also what people use out in the field, if you think about the military and people that work in mining and agriculture. So a laptop that is super durable, that's a powerhouse out of the box, that can be upgraded for just component costs and cost next to nothing. See, most people don't know this, but you can, as a general consumer, go on the internet, go to the website of a company, in this case HP, and pick up a workbook. For example, this one for about 610 Australian dollars. Out of the box, this has an 8th generation Core i5 processor. So 4 cores, 8 threads, hyper-threading and turbo boost. You also get an M.2 SSD, in my case 256 gigs, and you get 8 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM for this machine here. Now this one is about 2 or 3 years old. I picked it up for 610 Australian dollars. And while there are a couple of compromises in buying something like this versus just a generic consumer laptop, the benefits far outweigh any downsides. So let me explain. First off, there are a couple of downsides, and I'm going to get those out of the way so that you can decide whether you want to continue watching this video or you want to switch off and it's just not for you. So firstly, I have some stickers on mine, but as you can tell, it's pretty plain Jane and boring to look at. So no, they're not massively chunky, they're not overly heavy, they're not far different from a consumer laptop, unlike the older versions of workbooks, which used to be real bricks. So this one is relatively thin, it's relatively light, and its form factor is really handy. Now, if you're into your looks, then maybe a workbook might be a put-off for you, because you can generally only get them in 2 colors. This matte metallic silver, which is anti-fingerprint or fingerprint resistant, or you can get them in a matte black, which does get a lot of fingerprints on it. And that's about it. Also, if you're into your premium build materials, aka aluminium, then a workbook probably isn't right for you, because they have to make a compromise somewhere, and that normally comes down to the chassis. Almost all workbooks are made out of plastic. Now, don't take plastic as not being durable. So this does have aluminium where it counts, and that's where your palms rest on the keyboard. And also, while we're there, being a workbook, the keyboards are usually brilliant on something like this. Okay, now plastic doesn't mean bad, because almost all workbooks out there will clearly state that they've been tested and have passed military tests. So they're designed to be used out in the field in super harsh environments and extreme weather conditions, and just deal with it year after year for a very long time without suffering any consequences. Now, you can't really do that with a consumer laptop because you'll void the warranty and destroy your machine for the most part. Out of the box, for content creators, something like this is brilliant, because not only can you take it around with you wherever you go and it'll put up with the knocks and abuse from day-to-day use, but also it'll run intensive programs like Adobe Premiere Pro and Photoshop, coupled with having things like Chrome open in the background and things like Audacity if you're recording audio at the same time without too much trouble. Now that leads me on to the next benefit of having something like this, which is ports. So this one's already a few years old, and as machines get newer and newer and more modern, you get more and more updated sort of ports along the sides of them. So this one, keep in mind, is a few years old. You've got 2 super fast standard USB ports on it. You've got an inbuilt SD card reader. You've got USB Type-C, VGA, if you're into that kind of thing, a full-size HDMI, and an Ethernet port. So you don't really carry or need to carry any dongles with you whatsoever. Next up, another pro for the workbook. Where a consumer laptop isn't really designed to be upgraded, a workbook definitely is. So some consumer laptops out there will not allow you to update even the RAM inside because they'll solder it to the board, versus a workbook which is designed for IT departments to be modular and be upgraded as the user's needs grow. So for this one, I've recently maxed out the 256 gig M.2 SSD storage inside, so I decided to upgrade it. I kept the M.2 SSD, which you can remove and upgrade if you want, but I decided to just keep the operating system on that, and instead I've put in a 1 terabyte Crucial MX500 SSD into the vacant drive bay, which was provided in the workbook. And there's a neat SATA cable already tied in there, so installation is as simple as undoing one screw and plugging your new hard drive in. Secondly, the RAM is designed to be upgraded on something like this as well. So the Core i5 8th gen can handle up to 32 gigabytes of RAM, which even for a desktop PC is a ton of fast memory. And I decided to utilize the most that my i5 processor could use, and so I ditched the standard 8 gigabyte stick that came with my laptop, and I put in two 16 gigabyte sticks of DDR4 RAM. So now I can run any number of intensive programs that I so choose, whilst having a whole bunch of things plugged into the side of my laptop, usually a camera that's transferring media files over to my new hard drive, whilst having a condenser microphone plugged into the laptop where I record my audio, whilst having multiple Chrome tabs open, downloading files and sound clips and things like that I use on videos, all at the same time while editing videos. And well, something like this, upgraded with the additional RAM and the storage, has no problems whatsoever with massively intense tasks. So I thought I'd make this quick video and share this little trade secret with people, because if you're out there and you have about $1,000 to spend, you can buy something like this for about $600, spend about $400 on a terabyte of super fast SSD storage and 32 gigabytes of RAM, and have an absolute powerhouse at your fingertips. And comparatively, if you were to go out and buy a consumer laptop with even half the RAM, say 16 gigs, but still an equivalent Core i5 processor and maybe 500 gigabytes of storage, you'd be looking at easily double. So while you might get an all aluminium build and you might get a much better screen, what you won't get is the performance, and you'll be paying easily double for it. If you're after something like this with over a terabyte of memory and 32 gigabytes of RAM, you're looking at over 2,700 Australian dollars versus 1,000 for this. So for my needs, I don't game on this, I don't consume media on this. I have a television, I have a tablet, and I have a phone. This is perfect, and I can bank the extra money that I saved by not having to fork out on a consumer laptop, and I can sleep easy knowing that this will serve me well for a good few years to come, and should anything go wrong with it, I can simply replace the components that need to be replaced or upgraded for just the cost of those components. So I hope this has given you something to think about when you're considering buying your next laptop.